It is a massive understatement to say that these are wild and hectic times in American politics. Without getting into all the volatile details, we of course try to stay away from those topics.
Wait, I've got an idea. It is Throwback Thursday, right?
It is. So maybe we could use a break and hear a story that takes us back to quainter, quieter times. What a wonderful coincidence that Jim Duffy, the author of Secrets at Eastern Shore, just happens to be here with us. How are you, Jim?
Good afternoon.
It's good to see you, sir.
There's one problem here.
Okay.
I didn't get the memo.
The memo.
Yeah, the memo that said we weren't supposed to do anything about politics and presidents
what you have is...
and all that, because the only... Should I just go?
No.
Are
you sure?
We have a specific exception written in for you.
All right.
So what'd you come up
All
with?
right. The story that I want to tell starts in 1914 when a man named John Moaney is born in our own Talbot County, Maryland.
Okay.
It's not quite clear exactly where he was born, but his roots are in Copperville, a very historic, small African-American community. Has long been and still is home to Frederick Douglass's descendants.
Okay.
Working class upbringing. He worked as in landscaping and as a farm laborer. And then in 1942, a couple months before Pearl Harbor, he joined the Army. And he was a grunt. He was in the quartermaster crew and doing truck maintenance and things like that. When a job comes open, and it's going to be a job on the staff of an unnamed general, it doesn't sound like the most attractive job to me, because the job was described as houseboy.
Oh.
That doesn't sound so good, does it? No.
Did he apply?
He did apply, and he got the job. And the first time he realized that he was going to like this general was when he met the general, and the general said, no saluting, no standing at attention in this job. The general's name was Dwight D. Eisenhower.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh.
And his job was to make sure that Eisenhower's life outside of the workplace was completely peaceful, calm, and uneventful.
Huh.
That's a pretty
Hard to
big
do
job.
in the middle of World War II.
Yeah.
Right?
They went to North Africa. They were in England for a while. Then D-Day happened. They went to North Africa before that. And then as the army advanced, they were living out of tents in France and in Germany. The armistice gets signed, and Eisenhower turns to Moaney and says, well, I guess that this is the end of the road for us, because everybody on his staff had the opportunity to go back to civilian life. And Moaney says, if it's all the same to you, General, I'd rather stay by your side. Now, you would think that this working class guy from Copperville and this general, five-star general, future president, would not have much in common.
Right.
They had all kinds of things in common. They both loved hunting, they both loved fishing, they both loved farming and gardening, and eating with fresh vegetables. Eisenhower hated fancy cuisine and fancy chefs. Moaney said that his preference was for just plain cooking. Yeah. The war ends, Eisenhower comes back, and they're in D.C. for a while. Moaney gets married, another woman from the Copperville area named Dolores. Eisenhower decides to go to Europe to become the supreme commander of NATO, and he turns to Moaney and he says, I guess this is the end of the road for us, because you're going to have to stay here with your new young wife. And Moaney looks at him with a smile and says, I've known you longer than I've known her, General.
No.
If everything's the same, I'd rather stay by your side. Eisenhower eventually comes back, gets a job in New York, decides to run for president. And again, Moaney stays by his side while he's president.
Wow.
And Dolores gets into the picture here too, because she gets hired to be on the White House staff.
So that's Moaney's
There are a
wife?
couple of jokes that the media told about the Moaneys during this time. One is that, like all presidents, Eisenhower loved to go golfing. And the media would be there watching him golf. And Moaney caddied for him so often that every time Eisenhower lined up for a shot, they said, Moaney would walk down the fairway or onto the green or wherever and position himself basically exactly where the ball landed. The other joke had to do with Dolores. It was a joke in the media how often the Eisenhowers gave their fancy schmancy White House chef and his staff the night off, because Dolores had a gift for just plain cooking.
Really?
And she would be the one who would make.
Oh my goodness.
And you know, if you look at those 8 years when he's president, his favorite thing to do is go fishing, and Moaney it would just be the two of them in a boat. I'm sure Secret Service on the shore or whatever like that. Just the two of them on a boat, hour after hour.
How about that?
I'm sure he spent more time with his wife. Maybe he spent more time with his chief of staff or something like that. But basically, he just spent hour after hour with John Moaney. The big time in this came in 1957, June of 1957. When President Eisenhower invited Copperville to the White House.
Copperville?
And 40 people from the historic church there, to Shields United Methodist Church, they all went to the White House. There's a glorious, the picture of this event is just glorious. My wife and I were looking at it the other night, just look at those dresses and everything. Eisenhower said they spent 28 years together, side by side, every day. Moaney basically never took a day off. He said, I was just mostly satisfied. He'd start in the morning before Eisenhower got up and end after he went to sleep.
Oh my goodness.
And Eisenhower called him the irreplaceable man in my life.
Huh.
Eisenhower died in the late 60s, Moaney died in the late 70s, Dolores lived to 98, and she was still with the Eisenhowers, still helping raise grandchildren and grandnieces and everything like that. So the friendship actually went well beyond the 28 years.
Oh my goodness.
That's an incredible story.
Wow.
Army grunt from Copperville and this five-star general were able to find so much in common. You know, it's just, is this a great country or what? That's
Good
what
friends
kinda makes
first
me
and
think.
office after that.
Absolutely.
How about that?
Yeah.
Jim Duffy, Secrets of the Eastern Shore. Thank you so much. See you next week.
Yeah.
Well, if you've ever bought an appliance, you know how stressful that can be.
But what if there was an easier solution for you? We're going to take you inside ADU appliances and preview the latest technology from GE.
But first, let's check out the lineup on Delmarva Sports Network. Maryland Summer League basketball tips off live at 6. Then you can catch the final score at 10:30. Keep it here. More Delmarva Life is on the way.